So, let's jump back to 2007. Bungie is riding the success of Halo 3, but is growing tired of making Halo games. During the development of the DLCs for Halo 3, Bungie and Microsoft sat down and came to an agreement. Bungie will make 2 more Halo games, and then their exclusivity deal is done. So, Bungie goes back to the drawing board and takes stock of what they've got on hand. Taking a look at the projects currently on the floor, Bungie remembers that they are working on a DLC for Halo 3 called Halo Recon, a DLC campaign that focused on ODSTs, which were the more elite-looking Marines from Halo 2 and 3. Seeing an opportunity, Bungie pushed to make Recon into a fully fledged game that would have a short campaign, but also give the Halo community a way to buy all of Halo 3's DLCs in one package. Halo 3 ODST's development cycle was pretty short, being done in only 14 months, and releasing on September 22nd, 2009. ODST came out to great critical reviews, but mixed fan reaction. Yeah, surprisingly fans were split, seeing ODST as either a refreshing take on Halo's gameplay and style, or just a way too short game that was just an excuse to sell DLC at $60. I fell into the former camp, as personally, I love ODST and everything it introduced into the Halo sandbox and universe. And after over a decade and a half, it still remains my favorite Halo game out of the series. So allow me to take you on a walk through the city and see if I can convince you to give it a try. Halo ODST's campaign begins with a story recap of the Halo universe, up until the start of the events we will play through. The story we are participating in is during the events of Halo 2's first 3 missions. Here we are introduced to the ODST squad called Alpha 9, its members being Sniper Romeo, Heavy Weapons Expert Dutch, Explosive Specialist Mickey, Squad Leader Buck, and current Commanding Officer Captain Dare, and we take on the role of the squad's rookie named... Rookie. Huh. Alright then. The mission we are assigned is to capture the Prophet of Regret, who supercarriers over the city of New Mombasa. But how are we getting aboard? Well, in the titular way that ODSTs do, through pods that are launched from high orbit. Though, as Buck talks to Dare, it appears that there's more to our mission, and something is up. More so than just the raw, sexual tension in the air. After being rudely woken up by Romeo and handed our weapons by a kinder Dutch, we are loaded into our pod and see Buck and Dare on our vid screens. Then our pods are launched, making their way straight down into New Mombasa's war zone. Dropping down to Earth is an amazing experience. Seeing the Battle of Earth from a different perspective, and seeing just how devastating a handful of Covenant ships were, sells how bad this battle was going in a much better way than Halo 2 did. Then we break the atmosphere and see the supercarrier. However, Dare adjusts our pod's trajectory last minute, and her only reason given to us is that we are heading where she needs to go. However, if you remember the plot of Halo 2...
No, the carrier is going to jump. It's a slip-space rupture. You need to... EMP, losing power. They popped their chutes. We're going in hard.
Yeah, if you remembered the plot of Halo 2, you probably would have felt that dread come over you, that this was a bad idea, since Regret's carrier would flee from Earth with the In Amber clad chasing after it. However, thanks to Dare's adjusting our trajectory, we were saved from the initial blast, but our pods were scattered throughout the city due to the EMP and shockwave, which also knocked the rookie unconscious for 6 hours. Now, before we continue, I need to address something. ODST does not play the same way as previous Halo games do. It splits itself into 2 gameplay sections, which I dub City and Flashbacks. So for the first bit, we will focus solely on the rookie section, then jump to Flashbacks. After being knocked out for 6 hours, Rookie wakes up in the nighttime ruins of New Mombasa. Doing our regularly scheduled tutorial, we blow open our pod doors and hop out, taking fall damage. Uh-oh. Yeah, something to keep in mind with ODST, we aren't playing as Master Chief anymore. We are a regular-ass human in regular-ass combat armor with all the disadvantages of being a human in the Halo universe. We aren't as fast as a Spartan, can't jump as high as one, we lost our radar, and we can't dual-wield weapons, and we can't use equipment, which makes sense. We aren't a super soldier. As an ODST, we get stamina and a regular health bar. Stamina acts as a warning sign for how many times you can get hit before it starts reducing health. When your screen is red, that is when you start taking damage, and trust me, in ODST, if you play recklessly like you did as Master Chief, you are gonna die way more often than before. Of course, with the return of the health bar, we get medkits, which when you grab one, it will instantly restore your health, but also restore your stamina to full. So if you get stuck in a firefight and heal up, it can give a small edge when you're in a bind. However, we aren't completely screwed, as an ODST comes equipped with a heads-up display called Visor. The visor works like night vision, but it also highlights enemies, friendlies, objects, and objectives. Though it isn't as practical as having a radar, it helps in a firefight for keeping track of targets and helping you find points of interest that you wouldn't normally be able to see. We also get a brand new SMG and pistol, the silenced versions of these two guns. Though both guns do less damage than their regular counterparts, they both have a 2x scope and better accuracy. However, before you start thinking that you could be an assassin with these things, don't. The weapons having silencers does not stop Covenant units from hearing you, as the Halo 3 engine didn't have much for stealth mechanics, so if you sneak up on a patrol, just back tap them and don't fire. It would just alert them to you immediately. Now, after clearing the immediate area out of Covenant patrols, let's take stock of what happened. We are stuck, alone, in the middle of a Covenant-controlled city, with zero clue about what has happened to the rest of our squad. Now, with that little predicament hitting us full force and giving us an existential crisis, we start to hear a phone? Answering the phone, we get in contact with the city's superintendent named Virgil. Virgil is an AI. However, it is something we call a dumb AI, which means unlike Cortana, who has a personality, it can really only run a city. However, Virgil gives us a few key things. First, it gives us a map of the city, as well as points of interest for us to follow. But as well, it allows us to access the rest of our visor, which gives us our objective window and a video player? Yeah, throughout the city of New Mombasa, we can find audio logs. These audio logs are dubbed Sadie's Story, and it goes through the events of the Covenant invasion of Earth through the eyes of 19-year-old Sadie and Desha, not only giving us a view to what civilian life is like on Halo's version of Earth, but also what happens during a Covenant invasion. Now, audio logs are a bit tricky to find, as they are tied to our points of interest. You can only start accessing audio logs after activating the first point of interest, though only a certain amount for each section of the game. To get them all, you have to keep finding points of interest and activate those to find more logs. Though, don't worry, there is a reward for finding them. As you find the logs, weapon caches will open up throughout New Mombasa, as if Virgil is rewarding you for finding them. These caches contain weapons like sniper rifles, rocket launchers, and even mongooses for you to use, which is a good reward for us, as the only way to find weapons and ammo is to basically scavenge around and hope for the best. There are 30 audio logs total. However, the final log is only discoverable after you find all the others, and if you do find all 30, it has an effect on the game and the rookie. So keep your eyes and ears peeled, as audio logs will give off a distinct cell phone ring and will appear highlighted in yellow on your visor. These few things help give the rookie section of the game more to do, and allows us to explore the city at our pace and just breathe it in. In the other Halo games, we usually just went from place to place, very rarely sticking around the same location. However, here, we are stuck in the city, and though we have to keep our visor on to see, We see the ruins of the city, UNSC propaganda, graffiti, and just get to experience what a city looks like in the Halo universe, which, compared to the snippet we got in Halo 2, just makes this a great experience. And the music. Oh my god, the music of ODST is amazing! Halo has always had more rock and roll and ambient music, though in ODST we get a bit more with the addition of jazz music, which really works with Halo. Being a lone trooper, dodging patrols, and listening to songs like this? Fuck yes! Now you're probably asking, that's not the entirety of this game, right? Well, no. Remember those points of interest I talked about earlier? Well, this leads us to the other half of ODST's campaign, the flashback missions.
Flashback.
When you find a point of interest, it will take you to a flashback over the course of the past 6 hours we missed, playing as a member of our squad. The points of interest are Dare's helmet, a drone's camera, a destroyed Gauss turret, a detonated explosive, a broken sniper rifle, and a can of medical foam. So let's talk about what happened over those 6 hours that the rookie was unconscious. The first flashback has us play as Buck immediately as he hits the ground. Though he is able to get out of his pod, Captain Dare, whose pod landed nearby, tells us that she can't get hers open, and though they do have a bit of a conversation about their personal relationship, it's cut short when Covenant forces try to lock the area down, leading Buck to try and save Dare. As we fight through Covenant forces, something strange to point out is that if ODST takes place during the events of Halo 2, why are we fighting brutes? Well, if you remember Halo 2's plot, the Prophet of Truth would betray the elites. During the War for Earth, Truth secretly sent reinforcements to the planet controlled by the brutes, and when they landed, they took control and killed any elites that were left behind. We can see the remnants of that both in this mission and throughout the city during Rookie's sections. As we fight through the area, we run into Marines! Don't get too attached to them, however, as Marines in ODST sadly have half the HP as Marines in Halo 3 did, meaning that 3 shots from a plasma pistol is enough to kill a Marine. So even though there are a couple of them that can help, don't rely on them. Though, as we push through Covenant-controlled streets, we run into and put down some hunters and find Dare's pod site, which, when we clear the area, Buck manages to open the pod to find nothing. Dare is missing. But we do meet a new alien. Before it can do anything, though, a sniper shot takes it out, revealing that Romeo is there. But after the new Covenant type is dead, it explodes. Huh.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
After that, Buck and Romeo regroup, and after checking in if Romeo knows where the rest of the squad is, our resident marksman says he doesn't. And Buck decides that since their battalion is dead, Dare is missing, and that the squad is scattered, the new mission is to pop smoke and focus on getting out of the city before the Covenant lock it down. Now, before we continue, what the hell was that squid thing? Well, it's a new Covenant type called an Engineer, and it doesn't act like regular Covenant troops. Engineers don't fight, but their presence gives their allies overshields, meaning that while Engineers are around, Covenant forces get tougher. However, if you take out a squad leader or kill enough Covenant troops, the Engineer will explode? Which is weird, but it adds a new threat to be aware of during combat. Back to the story, the next flashback mission is Dutch fighting his way through New Mombasa's animal reservation area. The mission gives us access to warthogs and the Spartan laser, though the mission isn't very story-heavy, with its main purpose of getting Dutch into the city proper. It does lead us to see the fallout of the slip-space jump, though. During our drive over a bridge, we see the space elevator collapse, and the brutes beginning to lock the city down. Once we drive through the brute blockade, Dutch crashes into the city proper, and we jump to Mickey's mission. Mickey's mission is us fighting through the streets of New Mombasa using tanks, heading to a rally point for the remaining Marines in the city, which in the tight city quarters makes it a pretty brutal fight, as it's really easy for Covenant forces to ambush us and pour tons of firepower onto our tank. With enough of our own firepower, though, we break through the Covenant-controlled area and reunite with Dutch, who tells us that he and the other Marines have set up a defensive position at the rally point, which we have to hold against a few waves of brute forces, which we do. Regrouping with Dutch, both he and Mickey try to work out a plan, as neither of them have heard from Buck or Romeo. Though before they can make any final decisions, a police officer interrupts the conversation and asks if either of them know how to use explosives, which leads to the two going to help and into our next flashback. An hour later, Dutch and Mickey are preparing to blow up a bridge to deny Covenant tanks a way to a building called the Oni Alpha Site. Basically imagine the American Pentagon, but a giant cube instead. Though we managed to blow the bridge, we only bought a small amount of time, as Covenant dropships fly over the wall. Kinda pointless blowing up a bridge then. Defending the Alpha Site is brutal, as Marines and police are cut down pretty easily by Covenant forces, and we are pushed from the bottom of the hill to the top, inevitably having to fall back inside as brute forces keep putting pressure on us. When we get inside, the remaining police are setting up explosives while we're still in the building. Of course, Mickey and Dutch point out that they are trying to protect the building, but the sergeant says that they have orders to deny the Covenant access to any classified data, meaning that this place has to go boom.
Kaboom?
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
This leads to us having to defend the area, while the officers prepare what's left of the explosives, which is brutal, as the brutes keep the pressure on. Though, once we survive for a while, an officer on the elevator comes up telling us evac is waiting for us on the roof. Mickey takes the detonation codes, as he's the explosive expert, and as we ascend, drones come out of the woodwork, with the officer revealing that the underground tunnels are swarming with them. Once we get to the roof and fight off whatever Covenant forces are left up there, we are evacuated on a police gunship and are finally able to get back in touch with Buck and Romeo, who were holed up at the police HQ and need an evac. So Mickey and Dutch head off to evac them after the Alpha Site is blown up. This leads us to Romeo's mission, as Mickey and Dutch arrive to evac Buck and Romeo, only to have their ship shot down, which leads to Buck yelling at Romeo that, alive or dead, they are pulling their squad mates out, which gives me a chance to talk about the characters. Halo has always had more silent protagonists during the events of missions. However, in ODST, our characters tend to quip and comment on events going on around them. Even during the opening, we can get a feel for our group of protagonists. Romeo's a smartass, but still dependable, Mickey is naive, Dutch the straightforward soldier type, and Buck as a leader who just wants to see all of his men get out alive. Along with the excellent voice acting from the cast, you can get the personalities of Alpha 9 pretty quickly. Plus, their banter during gameplay is pretty funny.
Thanks for picking such a tall building. I'm really digging all these stairs.
Do you ever get tired of bitching, Romeo?
You ever get tired of busting my balls?
Point taken.
Though with the game's shorter story and the fact we are juggling around 6 stories at once, it leads to characters not being as deep as I wanted them to be. Though at the beginning of Romeo's mission, we can see that if had the choice, he would have left the rookie behind because Romeo has zero faith that we are alive. And if we had more time to explore that in-game, it would have been appreciated. Back to the plot, after fighting our way through the police HQ, we reach the crash site and have to dig in until the Covenant stops sending in waves of phantoms and banshees. This fight, though, is amazing. The music is perfect for it. The scenery of being on a high-rise is amazing. Your fellow ODSTs are quipping and being awesome, and I died here the most when it came to stupid bullshit.
Why am I not surprised?
Pick a turret, Romeo. Conserve your ammo. This is gonna get hot.
After killing the last wave of jump pack brutes, the Coveys still aren't done with us. Dropping in a brute chieftain at the worst time, he quickly knocks everyone around and pins Romeo against a light post. Luckily for Romeo, he was able to block most of the damage with his sniper rifle, but he still gets horrifically injured. Though Buck and the rest of the squad do save him, it's very clear we aren't getting out of the city by Pelican. However, Buck reveals that he might know another way out of the city. Which leads us to the last flashback mission, a literal hour before the rookie wakes up, at the opposite end of the city. Buck, Dutch, Mickey, and the wounded Romeo make it to Kikawani Station, with Buck hoping to use the train tunnels to walk out of the city. However, as we see, the tunnels are flooded, so walking isn't an option anymore. Though flight isn't off the table. Playing as Buck again, our task is to use a Banshee to escort Mickey, Dutch, and Romeo out of the station while they drive a Phantom. Escorting the Phantom isn't that hard, really. It's got good firepower from all angles, and the team really only needs help when it comes to fuel rod grunts and anti-air wraiths. Though the thing at the end of the mission is what is most annoying. The Scarab is back. Well, you know what to do if you watched my Halo 3 video. Knock out its legs, find the power core in the back, destroy it, and boom, it's done. Letting Buck and what remains of Alpha 9 to get out of the city and start heading off into the sunset. However, talking to Romeo reminds Buck that the underground of New Mombasa is filled with drones. And Buck has an epiphany. He has had Dare on the back of his mind the entire time, and was wondering if she wasn't in the pod, where could she have gone? Well, the only place her job would make her go. The underground. Buck quickly orders Mickey to turn the Phantom around, and we finally jump back to the rookie.
End of flashback.
After traveling around the city, finding all the audio logs, secrets, and points of interest, Rookie will hear an SOS from Dare, who is sending coordinates for backup, which gets the attention of Covenant patrols in the area, leading to the Rookie having to follow a Covenant patrol, take them out, and use the path they found to get into the underground. This begins the finale of Halo ODST, Data Hive. The underground of New Mombasa isn't the sewers, it's the central brain of Virgil and all of the city's services, such as power, internet, waste disposal, etc. And traveling through it, it seems Covenant forces have set up shop here. But why? The EMP from the slipspace jump should have made all these things worthless. Well, when we stumble upon a surviving cop, allow me to draw your attention back to Sadie's story. Sadie's story is directly tied to the events of what's going on in the background of Halo ODST. She is the daughter of the city's lead technical engineer who oversees Virgil. In fact, Sadie could get access to things or directly ask Virgil for help when she had access to terminals or any computers that were attached to the network. It's how she and later her companion Mike, a former cop, get around New Mombasa relatively unscathed. However, during the story, the slipspace event happens and Virgil is damaged, leading to a lot of problems and giving the story's central antagonist, the police commissioner, the excuse to turn Virgil off, which only caused more problems for the city. But before the slip space jump, Sadie managed to get in contact with her dad, who showed her a group of engineers apparently sacrificing themselves to save one of their own, and that engineer locked itself inside Virgil's main server room. Though the rest of Sadie's story is dealing with the police commissioner and escaping the city, it becomes very clear that the engineer is doing stuff to Virgil, but as well is trying to help Sadie and Mike get out of the city, leading to why this cop is down here. Like I said, you can only find 29 of the 30 audio logs in the city, and if you don't find all of them, this cop will only follow you a certain distance, with Virgil locking him out on the next floor and leaving him to be killed by drones. However, should you find all 29 and then come down here, he will follow you and allow you to access a room that you normally wouldn't be able to, finding the remains of Sadie's father, who was killed by the commissioner's men. We also find the last audio log here after killing the only human enemy we have ever had in first-person Halo game. Huh. ACAB. Finding this last audio log reveals that yes, Sadie and Mike do make it out of the city, but that the engineer and Virgil are now one, I guess? It does make it very clear that engineers are not antagonistic, and that this one is extremely special. And yes, it is confirmed when we meet up with Dare. Dare reveals that the last 6 hours in the events Alpha 9 took part in only made her job much harder, as the conflict upstairs pissed off the whole drone hive, putting them on high alert. As well, she reveals that our job was to secure the Virgil's data, as it holds some extremely important intel that should tell us what the Covenant are doing in New Mombasa. Teaming up with Dare, we push through Covenant defenses and a drone hive, and once we make it through them, we reach Virgil's data center, where we encounter a brute chieftain and his bodyguards trying to force their way in, with Virgil giving them a snarky remark.
Open this door, traitor!
Spay and neuter your pets. All dogs must be kept on leash.
By the prophets, you will pay for your insolence!
Killing the brutes, we are allowed access into the data center, and here we are finally introduced to Virgil, the engineer from Sadie's story. Dare fills us in on why engineers are so important. Engineers are biological supercomputers, able to repair technology, store data, and merge with AI. This definitely explains why the engineer went out of its way to help Sadie in the audio logs. We are also told that engineers are slaves, meaning that this little guy hates the Covenant just as much as we do. Although, as we discuss what to do next, a breach in the roof alerts us to brute reinforcements, and to Buck, who made his way down to the data hive looking for Dare. We do get in contact with him and inform him that we are coming to regroup with him, but please for the love of God don't shoot anything pink! Breaking out of the data center, we have 2 jobs: defend Virgil and find an exit. Virgil, however, isn't useless in a firefight. Staying near him gives us the overshields that we struggled against throughout the campaign. Though they can only take a few shots, they are still a massive upside in firefights. Virgil is still exposed though, and he can die, so just prioritize anything that can cause the most damage to him. Once we regroup with Buck and retrace his path back to the highway, we see Covenant cruisers and carriers swarming around the city, which leads to a small argument between Dare and Buck, but it's interrupted by Virgil repairing and operating a garbage truck. Dare hops in with Virgil, while Buck and the rookie take his Warthog. The final stretch of ODST is a long drive, with us defending the garbage truck, while also trying not to get killed ourselves. Though the truck is an instant death for anything that's smaller than a Wraith, and dumb enough to get in its way. Though there is enough on the highway to cause problems, and relying on the AI to shoot while I drive has always been a bit of a problem that I want to address here. Relying on Buck or any AI gunner is really annoying, as the AI will continue to shoot at a target even after it's long dead. This leads to multiple times where the vehicle takes damage that was avoidable, because the AI was too busy filling a corpse with more holes rather than targeting the ghost, putting holes in us. Granted, that problem gets somewhat fixed when we get access to the Goshawk later down the line, with the gun being able to one or two shot most targets, meaning that Buck takes aim at new targets faster, and it leads to less problems. It makes the last sprint of ODST start a bit wonky, but once you get the Goshawk and later the Scorpion tank, it makes the rest of the sprint much more comfy, and if you play this online with a friend, it just removes the problem entirely. However, during the final sprint, Covenant carriers and cruisers are still coming out of the woodwork over New Mombasa, and eventually a super carrier pops up, starts up its glassing beam, and fires it off, cutting off our escape route. Even worse, a Scarab gets eyes on us and fires its main cannon at the garbage truck. Luckily, Dare and the engineer survive, but our transports are toast, so we take an off-ramp and head towards a building to wait for the squad to rescue us. This leads to our final stand, fighting off waves of brutes, jackals, and hunters as they try to kill Virgil. But with turrets and Dare making use of a rocket launcher, we hold the line until Mickey, Dutch, and Romeo arrive to rescue us and take out whatever is left, and we escape by the skin of our teeth. Inside the Phantom, Rookie begins medical work on Romeo, while Dare and Buck stare out at what the Covenant are doing, digging and revealing the portal site that we would eventually fight at in Halo 3, which explains why the Covenant were digging and locking the city down. However, Alpha 9 flies off into the sunset, secured with Virgil, and ready to learn about all of the Covenant's plans that we would use in Halo 3. And that's ODST, my favorite game in the entirety of the Halo series. Yeah, sure, we lost the battle rifle, ODSTs are much weaker than Spartans, and yeah, the characters aren't as deep as I would want them to be, but we got a refreshing experience for Halo, an interesting and short campaign that anyone can get into, an awesome soundtrack, and a story that went on to influence a lot in the later Halo games and books. ODST was a success for Bungie, but it was also a way to give Halo fans something to chew on while we waited for their next game, which would also be the last Halo game Bungie worked on. So, when we come back, we will be looking at and talking about Halo Reach, the most divisive and polarizing game for Halo. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, you'll have to come back to see. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications. And join the Patreon or YouTube. Supporting me directly lets you see videos a week early than everyone else, and lets me keep doing this. Which, to those that have, thank you. See you next time.